Welcome. Here we are at Bergamot Station Art Center and at Santa Monica Auctions. We will be holding our spring annual auction at Bergamot Station as a two-day auction. It's kind of a special one because we have some huge highlights. On the first day, May 6th, we will be showing fine art photography, which has been curated by Douglas Marshall of Marshall Gallery. And on May 7th, we will be holding our normal auction of modern and contemporary art featuring some incredible works like behind me. This is the first canvas that was made to raise money for the very famous Obama posters for the 2008 election. This is the only canvas that was made from those stencils from, again, 2008, and we are selling them separately May 7th in our modern and contemporary sale. At the end of our photo auction, of which there'll be 100 plus lots, we will be doing a special photo auction for the Focus on AIDS Foundation, which was established by Susan Barris, Hossein Farmani, and myself, Robert Berman, back in 1987. And we had Keith Haring do this incredible graphic for Focus on AIDS, and we held over 14 auctions over the years, and we raised millions of dollars. Susan asked me to auction off some of the archives of 28 really great works, which will be auctioned at the end of our photo auction on May 6th. And 100% of the hammer will go to Focus on AIDS. There will still be a premium, but 100% of the hammer price will go to Focus on AIDS. So we are now at Marshall Gallery, and I'm very happy to announce the curator of the photography section for Santa Monica Auctions, Douglas Marshall.
We have almost 150 lots of photography ranging from the early 1900s to contemporary work. This collection of pieces has come from 2 or 3 notable large West Coast collections who are working with privately, as well as quite a few individual consigners. So the genres and focus really range. There are groups by individual artists where we might have a half dozen pieces, and then there's a lot of individual pieces from lesser known and very well known photographers of all genres and periods.
A highlight that came in was from a private collector who very smartly knew that when the Playboy Foundation or the Playboy magazine was selling off the artworks that they had owned and commissioned, especially by Hugh Hefner, he was able to get through different auctions and ways these 4 unique collages that were commissioned by Hugh Hefner to Andy Warhol back in 1974. So each one of these are collages shot with a Polaroid, and they were published in the magazine in Playboy in 1974. Later on in the 90s, they did a whole article talking about how important and seminal this particular collection was, and how this idea of taking Polaroid shots and making collages out of them. I think most of you are aware that David Hockney became famous for one of his series on photography of the collaged Polaroids. But this was done earlier and is a little bit on the risque side, because these models were the models from the movies that were being made by Andy Warhol at the time. So right here, we have two works, dye transfer prints by William Eggleston that were done in the 70s, and they're really strong and quite beautiful. Both in the interest of conceptual art and photography, setup photography, we have one of the most important works, in my opinion, of the 20th century. A shot taken by Julian Wasser back in 1963 at the Pasadena Art Museum for Marcel Duchamp's only at that time and first retrospective. And he brought in a woman, young woman, who later became a very known writer of essays and magazines and books, named Eve Babbitt. But here she was very young, and she became the model of, in theory, the nude descending a staircase, but not descending a staircase, sitting and playing chess with Marcel Duchamp. And it was all set up by Julian Wasser. There were only two of these large prints made in the light jet process. So it's a photographic process on photographic paper. And this particular one, there were an addition of 5, but only 2 were made. This is number 205 in this size, signed by Julian Wasser twice on the back.
Quite a few of the works that we have are notable photographers from the area of documentary, reportage. We have quite a few from the Magnum, famous Magnum photographers, Elliott Erwitt, even some Salgado, Henri Cartier-Bresson. But a couple of the ones I'm really excited about are this pair of Friedlanders, his most famous image from New York, as well as this one here. And then also we have these really great 3 Harry Callahan prints, which are some of his studies of his wife Eleanor, for which he's most known for. A really beautiful set. So as I mentioned, we have a salon of about a dozen notable photographs from iconic photographers of children at play and in domestic spaces, which kind of leads into this really beautiful Ansel Adams, a really rare, unknown one, in a rather large format called the Graduation Dress. And we also have this pair of iconic Elliott Erwitt prints, the notable New York Magnum photographer, and arguably his most famous image taken in Malibu, often referred to as California Kiss. So along this larger main wall, we have more of a contemporary selection of both abstract and experimental work. I'm excited about 4 pieces by Abelardo Morel, who is known for his camera obscura work. Pieces we have, some of the more notable ones made in New York City apartments or hotel rooms, where he would make a pinhole at the window, and thus it would project an inverted image of the New York City cityscape into the rooms of the Chrysler building here and the Brooklyn Bridge, in one of his earlier light bulb images, which kind of really gets the most basic expression of photography right as you walk into the auction preview. So this is a good example of some of the iconic images we have. We have about a half dozen prints from Henri Cartier-Bresson, especially a few of his surrealist images that showed the influence of the surrealist artists he spent time with in the 1920s as he started making more and more photographs in the 30s and 40s. So we have a great set of prints by Cartier-Bresson, as well as a few beautiful works, kind of rare works from Bernice Abbott and Alfred Eisenstadt, as well as quite a few more Ansel Adams and other iconic photographs of the 20th century.
So one of California's great experimental photographers happens to be a woman, is Susan Rankitis, and she did amazing work all through the 80s. This is a work from 89, very beautiful, large work, where much of the work was done obviously in the dark room, but the colors and the brightness and the abstract, amazing handwork. We have here a beautiful, smaller work by Susan Rankitis from 1985. And these are unique, one-of-a-kind abstract masterpieces. Also in this auction we have 2 works by Alex Prager, Ellen, one of her most popular works, and another 4-foot-high photograph from the very famous polyester series by Alex Prager.